knows is surely the best that can be. So round the barrel tongues gather all, with jug and bowl and with pitcher tall. And welcome the cider that comes to refresh, welcome the cheer it bears. Who would forego the joy he may know, with friend or with foe, when cider doth flow? Oh, many the joys that the world may give, and each to his own may cling. But what can compare with a pleasure so rare, that the juice of the apple can bring? That the juice of the apple can bring.
Good morning. So I'm Dot Verbrugge. I am president of the board this year, and in this year of change, the first thing you'll notice is that I am not Reverend Ian. Unfortunately, he tested positive for COVID yesterday, so we are pinch hitting today with a few of us to cover the service, although he will be preaching on a recorded sermon, and it went really well the first service. So we're hoping for the best, and we ran through a contact tracing exercise with the staff yesterday. All of them have tested negative as well in the last 24 hours, and they're all masked today. So if anybody does feel at all uncomfortable, there are masks in the back and at both doors. So feel free to step out and get one if that would make you feel more comfortable. So with that, welcome here, and welcome especially to our choir, led by David Owens, and to Alessandra Vivo, who's here playing the flute with us today. Several announcements here. First of all, there will be a congregational meeting right after the service today, and where we'll discuss the abortion issue and vote in one of the search committee members. There will be childcare available for kids 11 and under. It will be in room 109, but you do need to sign your kids out from the RE class and then bring them to room 109. Kids 12 and older are welcome to join the congregational meeting and see governance in action. On Thanksgiving Day this week, there will be a potluck at 1 o'clock. If you want to sign up for that, there is an email in the torch, or you can get that from the office or the welcome table before you go. And just around the corner is December, and December 4, there is a congregational tree trimming party right after the service. There will be extra holiday treats then for anyone who is interested in participating in that. And then a couple of RE issues. A new RE class will be starting December 7. It is on the book Mistakes and Miracles, Congregations on the Road to Multiculturalism. And it's kind of cool because it's going to be done jointly by Reverend Monica from our church and Reverend Laura Young from South Valley. It will be via Zoom. And then finally, there are 2 social justice movies coming up on December 7. At 6 p.m. is Occupation of the American Mind at Anderson Foothill Library, and Sunday, December 11 at 7 p.m. here in Elliott Hall will be Nice, The Heart of Madness. So if you missed any of those, they're all in your torch. Okay. So we'll go ahead and light the chalice here, and I'm going to do a reading that we start our board meetings off with. So we'll light the chalice. a little. We light this chalice in the spirit of trust and respect for each other as we come together to support, nurture, and challenge each other to advance the mission and vision of our church. We will now sing hymn 67 with David on the organ.
I'm about to enter that phase of parenting our society has dubbed empty nester. I'm not even sure how to begin introducing this tagline into my identity. Hi, I'm Kristen. I'm an empty nester. Hi, I'm Kristen. I'm the parent of 2 adult children. As the parent of young kids, and even teens, your identity can be easily boiled down to that one role. It's easy to lose sight of all the other roles we play. Kids have a way of taking up a lot of space in our heads, in our homes, in our bank accounts. Some people say, my job is done once their children turn that magical age of 18 or cross the threshold of high school or even college graduation. But is the job of parenting ever done? Or does it continually morph into something new? How do we know if we've been successful as parents? How do we know if we were good enough? Is there a final test? The one that finally declares whether or not we were a good enough parent? And then, how do we trust the results to be accurate? When I had children, I didn't know I could doubt myself so much. With each birth, my husband and I had to pull over on the drive home from the hospital to confirm that indeed a reputable hospital had let us take a newborn baby home. Did they actually think we were capable of this responsibility? Did they not know we were driving our newborn in a lethal weapon on wheels? Did they actually trust us? I remember when my daughter was a baby. Some of you knew her. She was a tough baby. Pyloric stenosis and reflux made her uncomfortable much of the time. She would cry for hours and hours, only soothed when nursing. But sadly, the means I had to comfort her also led to her discomfort, as she would vomit up most of what she ate. It was a tough cycle that would make any parent question their qualifications for the job. I recall reaching out to my mom for support. Her well-intentioned response first stung and then became absurd, and eventually introduced the idea that maybe parenting wasn't as easy for her as she'd made it seem. She said, "Well, Kristen, I don't know what you're doing wrong. You never cried like that. And if you did, I just gave you some phenobarbital. Maybe you should ask the pediatrician for some." "Mom, we don't give barbiturates to babies anymore," I said. And she said, "Well, I don't know why not. You turned out fine." All I could think was, did I? Did I turn out fine? I can't even comfort a baby. Time heals, and my daughter had surgery for the pyloric stenosis, and she eventually grew out of the reflux. But the voice in my head asking, "Are you enough to parent these humans?" has not ever really gone away. At each milestone my children move through, I've experienced joy, partly in their personal achievements and successes, and partly from the relief of knowing that I'm not getting in their way. I began to notice that when the self-doubt began to creep in, when I found myself wondering if I was enough, I became more quiet. Now, this honestly was due to me being terrified that if I opened my mouth in these moments, the battle in my head would suddenly be fought with my out loud voice. But what I noticed was that my quiet created space for growth, mine and theirs. When they've hit rough patches, as all kids and teenagers do, I have fought the urge to pick up a sword and fight their battles, wanting nothing more than to protect them from pain, while also trusting that they are enough to face this new challenge. In sitting with that dichotomy, I would question if I was doing the right thing. Yet somehow, knowing that I just needed to hold space for them and be present in the way they needed me, they would let me know what they needed if I listened. In learning to trust them, I've learned to trust myself. I've watched in awe as my children have grown into amazing humans, each their own person. With each of them, I have a different relationship. They've needed something different from me as their mother. My daughter is fiercely independent, charting her own course, full of plans and focus, set with quiet determination. She is a person of few words. She always needed a clear set of rules to live by and struggled when her sense of imminent justice did not match her peers, society, or even mine. Her work ethic makes me feel like a slacker. Her loyalty to those she loves makes you feel lucky to be a part of her life. And then there's my sweet son. As a child, his superpower was to cuddle me to sleep. He would fold his body into mine, and soon our hearts would be beating in unison, and I would be sound asleep. As a 6'3" 17-year-old, he still gives the best hugs. He will still seek out an opportunity to cuddle, to be close. My son only wants to know the rules so that he can dance along the outer banks of them. We used to joke that we had to give him a long rope so he didn't get tangled up. We had to learn to trust him very early on, even when it terrified us. He continues to challenge us to this day. He thinks deeply and in layers that blow my mind. People want to be around him because of how he makes them feel. Again, I feel lucky to be a part of his life. I had always thought that the self-doubt in my mind was weakness, that maybe it was proof that I was not up to this task of parenting, that it somehow prevented me from being truly present, fully trusting in my own ability. But maybe, by allowing the quiet and the questions and the doubt, I've allowed myself to simply hold space for growth. And that space has invited in some of the most important moments for myself and my kids. Moments that might not have happened if I hadn't trusted myself to be quiet when in doubt. And so, to answer that original question, I don't think my job as parent will ever actually be done. It's just going to change.
Thank you. Why I Am a Steward. It all started on Main Street. Sort of. In 1998, Salt Lake City and the LDS Church announced a proposal to close part of downtown Main Street to connect Temple Square to the headquarters of the LDS Church. 4 months later, in 1999, the City Council approved the sale of that block of Main Street to the church, with the plan to create a little bit of Paris to connect the two. What? How does a city sell part of Main Street to a church? Well, I was relatively new to Utah at the time, and I had been church shopping for a while when I learned that this First Unitarian Church and the ACLU were joining forces in litigation against the sale of Main Street. I knew I had to find out a little bit more about that Unitarian place. Trouble is, we had just moved to Draper, and that's not very close to 600 South. And yet, having not attended church for over 20 years after ridiculously religious upbringing as a preacher's kid, I reluctantly realized I had a void to fill. And it turned out that First Unitarian Church was a place that could fill that void and represent me in a way that the local political climate did not. So I signed the book. I was an intermittent attendee at first, and I almost stopped coming at all after having my first child, since driving up from Draper on a Sunday morning to sit in the nursery by myself, watching the service on a teeny tiny TV, did not bring the community I had hoped for. That would not happen today, by the way. But as my kids became school-aged, I knew I wanted them to be able to say, yeah, I go to church, if ever anyone in the Draper Ward public school system might ask. So my kids became regular RE goers. And because of the shortage of RE teachers that we always seem to have, I taught just about every age of RE some point along the way. The RE parents became great friends, and we co-hosted multiple overnights several times per year in various places, creating friendships among the kids and the adults that still exist today. But that's not why I'm a steward. When my kids were in middle school, my family unexpectedly fell apart. I honestly don't remember much about that first year, but when it happened, I instinctively knew I needed to be with my people. I needed my community, and it was here. It took a bit of convincing for my kids to accept another change, but my kids and I moved up to Salt Lake City a year later. It wasn't easy, but 3 months after moving, I distinctly remember the relief and joy that I felt when on the way home from church one Sunday morning, my 13-year-old said, "Mom, it's a good thing we moved up here. I could never go back to that Draper bubble we were living in." Today, my kids have grown, and I'm an empty nester. And somehow I find myself on the board of the church, leading the sausage-making of church board work. It isn't neat work. It's not easy, especially in a congregation of infinite opinions. But I am a steward of this church because, first, this community has the power to stand up for social justice, as we did against the sale of Main Street, as we hope to do again today when we vote whether to join with the abortion issue, and many other ways in between, and that matters regardless of the outcome. Second, this community offers spiritual practices and education for all ages, and causes kids and adults alike to spontaneously declare, "This is a good thing, and I can't go back to how I was." And finally, and most importantly, this community can pull people out of the depths of despair, even when we don't know we're doing it. That's why I'm a steward. With that, we will take the offering, and the doxology should be in your pews.
Hymns
Let's take a few deep breaths. In and out. In and out. You are safe here. I know. I've heard the jingles already. Black Friday is right around the corner. The crushing weight of expectations that come with this season. The presents, the recitals, the family gatherings, the money spent, the bills avoided. I know. Let's see if we can put a little bit of spiritual space between us and all of that this morning. As kids, we love this season. As adults, it can be a bit of a monster. But the doors are shut tight and the monster is outside. We are here just to give thanks for the beauty of this moment. Many of you come week after week, decade after decade. You know this room far better than I ever will. But just for a moment, let's try to look at it with new eyes. Take in the deep scarlet rug and cushions, the classic white and black pews, the tall Palladian windows, out of which we're able to gaze at the trees who are helping us become present to the changing of the seasons. This is a beautiful sanctuary away from the rushing outside world, and even though I'm speaking to you from my home at this moment, we are here in this moment together, in this beautiful moment together. take a moment to breathe out all of the expectations you have for yourself. And bring yourself fully into the room so you can appreciate the gift you gave yourself this morning. And the gift you gave everyone else in the sanctuary and online just by showing up. This is not a present you can buy. This moment will not be part of some Black Friday sale. However, this moment of appreciation is available whenever you're willing to acknowledge it. That's all it costs. How sad, in a way, that we often feel like that cost is too high. Giving yourself a moment for gratitude doesn't feel efficient when the urgent winds of the world are howling at you. It seems like work, but in reality, it's effortless. It's only our thinking that makes it work or seem like work. For many years, I would retreat at a monastery in rural Rhode Island, and one of my favorite memories from those retreats was the late afternoon break between sittings. We were given an hour and a half to relax, do yoga, go for a walk, maintaining silence, of course, but our bodies did not have to perform the rigorous stillness. Our minds did not have to work on the repeated mantra or koan. We were just allowed to relax. Several of us would gather on the back porch, which overlooks the pond below, where the stork are busy hunting frogs and the turtles sun themselves, and the dragonflies filled the air with aerial acrobatics. We would sit motionless watching these dragonflies for nearly the entire time. Our bodies were not as rigidly still as when we were in the Dharma room, but I wonder if our minds weren't more still. Released from my desire to calm my mind, released from my desire to answer my koan, the world would just come to me as it was in all its beauty, and I would just sit and soak it up, not thinking about anything in particular. It was very peaceful, even in contrast to the meditation hall. Now, why I couldn't bring that same peaceful mind back with me into the Dharma room an hour and a half later is a bit of a mystery, but I don't really know why. Once I would come back into that room, all of my expectations would come roaring back as if some great rain had occurred upstream, and what was a slow-moving stream becomes a torrent of desires and frustration for having desires. But I remember the dragonflies. I carry them with me still. They are always around. They just show up in different forms of wonder these days. But if I'm willing to give myself a moment of gratitude, they just come out. Wonder appears in the moment. Sometimes that happens for me in this room. Usually not on a Sunday. There's a performance that must go on, and it must come off perfectly, which of course it never does. But during the week, sometimes I come in here to sit in the quiet when the sun streams down through the clear windows onto the classic black and white pews. Everything hushed in that scarlet rug and cushions. These are moments of thanksgiving for me, when I'm not thinking about the coming Sunday or the other employees or congregants even, all of the elements that are necessary to make this place exist, but sometimes become a torrent of desires and frustration for having desires. And that torrent can carry me away into oceans of bitterness, fear, self-pity, and resentment. This job, in many ways, is just like your job, whether it's at the library or the law firm, whether you're working as a musician or a teacher. when I don't make space in my life for moments of thanksgiving, I can be carried away into the deep, and I can get very tired of trying to keep my head above the water. Maybe you understand what I'm saying. Racing as fast as we can, thinking it is the motion that is going to solve our stress problem, our resentment problem. If we get all of our Christmas shopping done by the weekend after Thanksgiving, then we'll have the rest of December to relax, and it won't be like last year. And that's just the material side. The family side, this weekend in particular, is often worse. I sometimes wonder why family and crushed expectations are not synonymous. Let's be clear, I love my family. I'm blessed in many ways. Blessed in ways that I know some people are not. The holidays still can be tough. I often stay one day too many. Just like those summers when I had to leave the back porch of the monastery and walk into the Dharma hall for the afternoon sit, I have a hard time walking back into my parents' home, leaving my expectations outside. A few years ago, I began a practice of taking time to find moments of gratitude. Sometimes it would just be to pause and take in the warmth of the gathering. Sometimes I needed to go on quiet walks alone, where I just let the world be with me. When my thoughts chase after expectations, after desires, irritation and bitterness well up, and I can find myself tightening a noose of resentment around another person's neck, only to realize that I'm really choking myself. I know the answer is forgiveness. Our families are who they are. We cannot control them. We cannot control very much in this world. And I've missed a lot of beauty because I tried to control the world around me. I have been in beautiful rooms like this one, and I haven't seen them. I've been surrounded by dragonflies in all forms of wonder and missed every one of them because my thoughts were focused on controlling or resenting something or someone. The world outside is asking a lot from you right now. This is the season of hyperstimulation. Thanksgiving, in some Orwellian twist, has come to signify the opposite of what it actually means. People will be trampled this coming weekend in a rush to consume. Dinners and gatherings will leave people exhausted and spent from a desire to make them perfect. We bear burdens, some put on us by others, some we strap on our backs ourselves, because we don't know what else to do. Perhaps because we've forgotten the grace that comes from a moment of gratitude. And one of the phrases I often hear, although it's not always expressed or articulated this way, is, I wish I had faith. I wish I could believe that there was a way to put down what I'm feeling, put down the resentment and just leave it there. I wish I believed the serenity was available for me too. But it is. How many of you have been to the beach in the summer? I'd like you to take a moment and imagine yourself there and imagine it very crowded. Imagine yourself at a very crowded beach, but your towel and your blanket are down, your drinks are there, you're okay. But there are a lot of people. How many of you believe that there's not enough sun for everyone on the beach? We're about to enter a chaotic time, made chaotic by the driving rhythms of consumerism, by family, by our own thinking. But there is enough serenity for everyone in this room. What we put into the world is what comes rebounding back to us. Our impatience with others increases impatience with ourselves. Our resentment of others increases our resentment of ourselves. Our forgiveness of others increases our forgiveness of ourselves. Extending others grace means we extend grace to ourselves. Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote that we travel the world over to find the beautiful. We must carry it with us, or we find it not. Forgiveness is the knife that severs the ties, binding us to resentments and unmet expectations. The moment of gratitude, the healing power of thanksgiving, where we allow the world to come to us effortlessly, transforms the torrent back into the stream. Life moves regardless of our efforts to exert control, whether we swim in it in a panic, exhausting ourselves, or whether we allow gratitude to buoy us to the surface is a choice we make. I have my dragonflies to remind me. For some of you, it may be the peacefulness and comfort of this sanctuary. Others will have your own talisman of surrender where you're able to let the desire to control pass through like clear water. Just because the world asks us to consume or to respond does not mean we have to listen. The greatest gift we can give to the world, to our families, to ourselves, is our forgiveness and our gratitude. There is enough sunshine for all of us. Have faith in that. The power of forgiveness and gratitude will never be exhausted. If it feels in short supply when you're going around the table at Thanksgiving, remember how you felt today. Remember this room. Remember the people who showed up today, this community. Say a prayer of thanksgiving that they are in your life. Do it on your knees if it adds more gratitude. I do. The beauty we seek in the world is always inside us, waiting for us to take a moment to see it. Have faith in the sunlight of your life. There is enough for the whole world. Amen.
Please join us for singing our final closing hymn, number 68 in your gray hymnals. Watch Holly for the interlude. There's a tricky part.
Well, many thanks to everyone who helped with today's service. The choir, Holly Stuart and David Owens, our beautiful flute music by Alessandra Vivo. Huge gratitude to Kristen for making all things IT happen today. Those strings are big to pull. Thanks to Reverend Ian. Yeah. Thanks to Reverend Ian for joining us in the way he could. Those of us who have had COVID understand. He dug deep for that, I'm guessing. And of course, thanks to Stephanie. She does so much behind the scenes work and is here early getting things going and set up, and she kind of makes everything happen. Please join us for coffee after the service, but actually get your coffee kind of quick. We're going to have our congregational meeting back here at 12:15, and we have some important things to discuss as a congregation, and so, yeah, hopefully we can all come together at 12:15 for that. So with our closing words, may we go forth from this place thankful for the life that sustains and renews us, and open to the grace that surrounds and surprises us. May we go forth from this place with openness and with thanksgiving.